Good morning, everyone. This is your daily tropical update, and we got a lot going on in the tropics. The tropics are definitely very busy. What you're currently looking at is the latest look at Hurricane Douglas, which, if you watch my videos from the last couple of days, this is a lot more organized than it was. Than it was. If we go to the National Hurricane Center, we are tracking 3 tropical systems right now. This is a new one that just developed later yesterday evening. And this has been declared Tropical Depression 8, which will be an immediate threat to the Gulf states. We have Gonzalo, which is an incoming threat to these Windward Islands, including Barbados. And in the Eastern Pacific, we have Hurricane Douglas, which has become the season's first major hurricane. It had become the season's first hurricane yesterday, and it has rapidly organized now into a major hurricane. So we're gonna break it all down first with the Atlantic, because that is our most immediate concern. We're gonna start with Tropical Depression 8, which is our newest system. Here's where it's headed. It is headed for the Texas coast, somewhere between looks like somewhere between Houston and Corpus Christi. And this yellow area is where a tropical storm watch has been issued. It's for much of the Texas coast. It's not expected to be a particularly strong tropical storm at landfall, but it is coming this weekend, and it is expected to produce pretty hefty amounts of rainfall in and around Houston, Corpus Christi, possibly all the way down to near Brownsville. This is the rainfall potential. So you can see some of the heaviest rain looks like currently forecast to be around Corpus Christi, where there could be 6 or more inches of rain. Could certainly be locally higher. And this is just a very early projection. But it's not just limited to Texas, of course. You can see it's spread out over much of the Gulf. Much of these Gulf states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, even into like southern Alabama, could be picking up at least a couple inches of rain from this tropical cyclone. This is the wind speed probabilities there. You can see there's not a horribly high chance for tropical storm force winds, but the potential is there, and would not be surprised to see this tropical storm watch get upgraded to a warning today. So here is the forecast intensity. You can see on the coast, 45 miles an hour, that's 60 hours away for now, and then gradually moving inland beyond that. So 45 miles an hour, it's far from being a very strong tropical cyclone. So let me actually open the weather.gov page, and we'll show you where the tropical storm watches are in effect. So this is the Corpus Christi homepage. You can see the tropical storm watch goes down to just north of Raymondville in Texas, goes to the north, includes Kingsville, Corpus Christi, Port Aransas, all the way up to Bay City there. If we keep going to the northeast, so the Galveston area, Houston's actually not under the tropical storm watch, at least right now, just outside of it. Galveston's under it, and that's about where it stops. It stops just before it gets over to Beaumont, sorry. So yeah, it's encompassing a fairly large area, and that, like I said, that watch could certainly be upgraded to a warning, probably, I would say, by today. Now the latest advisories were out at 7 a.m. Central Time. The next advisories are due in less than an hour, so some of this stuff that you're seeing in the video could definitely or probably will change. And if it's a really big update, I might make a second video. But there's Tropical Depression 8. Let's see what it looks like on the satellite. You can see there's a lot of convection. This is the center of it. It's not super duper organized, but it is very robust, and the central pressures actually have been dropping as of the latest advisory, so it's starting to look like the tropical depression is starting to strengthen a little bit. We've got a lot of convection here on its far east side as well. So a lot of convections, just not very organized at the moment, but that looks like it will be changing over the next day or so. And this is the satellite imagery of Gonzalo. Very small tropical cyclone, that is for sure. It's right here. This is actually Gonzalo. This stuff is not. But Gonzalo is a very compact. It has some pretty strong convection. It's been intensifying. At the latest advisory, Gonzalo is a 65 mile per hour tropical storm. Central pressure down to 997 millibars. The changes with Gonzalo is that a hurricane watch has been issued for Barbados. Let's see where else. Hurricane watch for Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't even know if that's right. But generally that some portions of the Windward Islands have been placed under a hurricane watch at this time, because it does look like that Gonzalo is going to intensify into at least Category 1 strength here, actually potentially by today. Let's take a look at the latest intensity guidance of Gonzalo. So you can see, okay, so they've lowered it a little bit compared to where they were yesterday. A lot of them are forecasting Category 2 strength, most of them getting up towards the upper end, Category 1 maybe into Category 2, and there's still some uncertainty as to what it's going to do after these few days. A lot of some of the models are predicting that it's going to weaken gradually and possibly even dissipate after about 5 days or so, but a lot of them are hanging on to it now. Some of them are even suggesting gradual strengthening over the next several days. And you can see this one model is really up there. That's probably too far up there. The chances of rapid strengthening with Gonzalo, they're not zero, I would say, considering the waters out ahead of it are very warm. But at least at this time, I don't think that this is going to be a really big tropical cyclone. But, you know, yeah, these compact systems are really difficult to forecast. Very difficult, actually. Hurricane Michael is a classic example in 2018 where it intensified, or it continued to intensify even despite moving into an area where there's a lot of wind shear. And sometimes these compact systems kind of just almost ignore dry air or wind shear. So definitely going to be a challenge to forecast. We're going to keep a close eye on it, but you can see almost every model, every intensity ensemble right here is forecasting pretty solid strengthening over the next 24 hours or more, the next couple days, getting in a Category 1 strength probably by today, and then we'll see what happens beyond that. Gonzalo is still not an immediate threat to the mainland United States. It could threaten portions of Hispaniola or Jamaica. If we look at this here, it could threaten portions of Hispaniola or Jamaica by next week, possibly. So you want to keep an eye on it if you're in that area. It's just, it has an uncertain future beyond that. I do know that the GFS in particular is suggesting it's going to make it into the Gulf. That's if it essentially that means if it's going to last that long. I mean, there could be enough shear, or it could actually make landfall, and that could really disrupt it. So we're not 100% sure it's actually going to make it into the Gulf and cause any problems there. So it's again, if you're in the southern United States, there's no reason to worry about it right now. We're going to keep watching it, and if it lasts several more days and it doesn't look like it's going to weaken, then we'll start discussing any threats to the mainland United States after that. So lastly, we're going to talk about Hurricane Douglas. Hurricane Douglas has really taken off. Let me show you my spreadsheet here. This is a look at Douglas's intensification. So as of 4 p.m. advisory yesterday, it was just an 80 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane. It jumped to Category 2 strength at 10 p.m. last night, and then early this morning, it is now up to major hurricane strength, 120 mile per hour winds, Category 3 strength, and you can see between advisories 11 and 12 was the most rapid pace of intensification. You see the pressure dropped more than 10 millibars, went from 982 to 967 millibars. And looking at it on satellite, it is looking very, very good, especially over the last couple hours or so. It's kind of almost looking like an annular hurricane. It's very symmetrical. Now the convection's pretty robust. I've seen it more robust before, but I mean it's starting to kind of look like an annular hurricane. Now it's probably well, I wouldn't say it's approaching its peak yet. It's in its peak conditions, I would say. The conditions responsible for this period of intensification is at its peak, I would say. So that basically means that after today, it'll probably have leveled off in intensity and should start to weaken gradually over the next several days. But I would not be surprised to see this jump further, maybe even a Category 4 strength. I mean, it's looking so good on the satellite right now. It's got the convection's nice and deep. It's very well organized. It's very well wrapped around the center. Its eye looks like it's clearing out. I mean, it's looking great. So 120 mile an hour Category 3. It looks like it might climb higher, possibly into the Category 4 strength. And then we'll look at where it's going beyond that. It's still looking like it could be a threat to Hawaii, possibly at tropical storm, maybe hurricane strength, but a tropical cyclone getting over to Hawaii in general fully intact is it's hard to do essentially. So this is a pretty uncertain threat right now. It's still many days away. So if you live in Hawaii, you should definitely pay attention to the forecast. There's no reason I wouldn't start your preparations yet necessarily, but just know that there is a threat for heavy winds and rain, especially if it makes it hurricane strength. That definitely could be interesting stuff for the islands of Hawaii. But we're basically you're gonna keep an eye on it. It'd be late this weekend, maybe into early next week by the time it would be over the Hawaii area. So that's all I got for you. If anything major changes, I'll post a special update video today. If not, you'll be seeing a video from me tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.